Hello everyone, this is Tamer Helmi with ReguQual Partners. I appreciate everybody's presence here during this presentation and webinar. That I actually have people from all over, from China, from India, from Sweden, Switzerland, the Netherlands, Ireland. I have folks from the East Coast of the United States, Central, and the West Coast. So thank you for being here. And today the webinar is about what are the common FDA Form 483 citation trends for pharmaceutical manufacturers. It's very important that we discuss this topic because it touches on a lot of aspects of our daily operational life in the drug manufacturing and biotech production in general. But this is, I begin with introducing myself. I'm Tamer Helmi with these educational credentials, and I actually have some global reach through supporting companies all over the place. Some of you worked with me already, and some look forward to working with you in the near future. My industry experience spans a lot of aspects from R&D to quality operations, and becoming after working in different companies, clinical and commercial. And currently in the last 4 years I consult, which gives me an opportunity to see a lot of folks, a lot of different prospects, and a lot of different facilities. And because of that, I'm able to actually share some of the advices with some of the groups. My interest general is 21 CFR Parts 210 to 11, quality management system, remediations, contamination control, data integrity, and quality culture, which is very crucial for what we do. So today's agenda, I'm going first to speak about what is FDA Form 483, just to lay the ground and have the context and the regulatory framework. Then we'll move to the most recurrent theme in the 483s that they are issued by the FDA, which is the investigations and CAPA failures. And moving from that down in the list to the data integrity deficiency, and something is important here, that integrity deficiencies, that it's the highest escalation risk is due to data integrity issues. Next to that is going to be the inadequate written procedures. We're going to talk about aseptic processing and contamination. We are going to present the issues related to cleaning validation and cross-contamination in 483s. And the next most cited issue is related to quality unit independence and authority. We are going to touch base on stability, equipment, and supplier controls issues in the 483s, followed by the trending and quality metrics. And then we are going to give executive level recommendations and Q&A. So let's first speak about what is a 483. So 483 is a form that it's handed to the firm at the end of the inspection. So the inspectors arrive, they write their own observations, and then they will hand you the 483. And that 483, you need to respond to it as a firm, as a facility or a firm or a company within 15 business days. And the 483, if not, the issues are not addressed, they can be escalated into a warning letter, and the warning letter can be escalated into a consent decree. Not necessarily 483 has to precede a warning letter. A warning letter can be issued directly. And the 483 does not necessarily warrant that there will be a warning letter if the issues are resolved. So let's keep that in mind. The escalation risk here is for the repeat findings. Several times the inspectors arrive to the facility, they cite some issues, and then they leave, and then they get a response. We'll work on CAPAs within 15 days. Now, when they revisit again within a year or two and they find the same issues over and over, that means recurrence and failure to address these issues, and it will become a systemic issue. And that's the word that we would like to keep in mind as we are moving through this process here. And then they can issue a warning letter, and it could also go into a higher risk, into a consent decree or an import alert. So I made some analysis, and I structured this presentation in a way to make it easier for folks to understand exactly what are the most cited issues. The first one that I found is the investigations and CAPA failures, followed by data integrity deficiencies, inadequate written procedures, aseptic processing and contamination control gaps, cleaning validation and cross-contamination, quality unit independence and authority, then stability program deficiencies, equipment and facility control issues, and then supplier qualifications and component testing, and number 10 of citations, of the highest number of citations related to trending and quality metrics deficiencies. I actually made a poll on LinkedIn recently, and I found that most of the folks chose the investigation and CAPA failures as the highest, most common issue related to the FDA Form 483, followed by the data integrity, and then inadequate written procedures and contamination control gaps. So let's talk directly about number one, which is the investigations and CAPA failures. So the way that I structured the presentation here, that I'm presenting the regulatory anchor, which is the main reference in the regulatory aspects here in the CFR, and then I speak here in this box about the typical 483 citation languages, the language that is used in the 483, and what does that mean to the facility. And then I discuss here the risk of that issue or the risk of escalation. So let's talk about the investigations and CAPA failures. As you can see, the language could be such as failure to thoroughly investigate unexplained discrepancies, or inadequate root cause determination, or we found that there are recurring deviations without effective corrective actions, or that the OOS investigations lacking scientific justification. What they usually are looking for by making these citations, that do you have a systemic issue in the investigations and CAPA systems? Are you really thoroughly investigating and deep diving into the root cause of the issue that you are facing? Or you're just assigning the quickest root cause, which most of the time it becomes an easy reach to a human error. Is it really a human error? This is the issue that we are facing in a lot of these investigations. When I visit facilities, most of the time it's due to a human error or an operator error. And then I look, if the operator, for example, let's challenge this. If the operator made an error, was that operator trained on the procedure properly? So let's look at that. And then if the operator was trained, was the procedure sufficient? Was it clear? So oftentimes I find some procedures that they are insufficient or not written for the operator. It's just written for compliance. Do you have a procedure? Yes, I do. It's right here, but does it speak actually to the operator? So before we resort in our fishbone analysis or any kind of tool that we are using into human error, have we examined clearly other root causes before we resort. So that shows a shallow investigation and not deep investigation. The second part of that is, are these investigations reaching the correct root cause? One root cause could be more than one root cause analysis. And then if that's the case, have we proposed the correct kappa? So we need to examine the root cause, then we can reach the correct kappa. And from there, we are able to follow through this process and reach at the end if the kappa is effective or not. So all of these aspects, when the inspectors look and they find a shallow investigation or there is no impact assessment, so there are systemic issues here. And when they find one or two of the investigations with these issues, they know this is a systemic, and the weakness here, it shows weak quality unit authority and poor quality risk management integration. The risk for this is high because it can escalate quality quickly to a warning letter if repeat patterns are found. Next, on the highest number of 483 citations is the data integrity deficiency. The regulatory anchor for that is 21 CFR 211-68 or 211-194. And the typical citation looks like this. It will read as failure to review audit trails, shared logging credentials, backdated entries, or unofficial testing or trial injections, or missing raw data. So my real story here about the shared login credentials, sometimes someone would say, is this real? Can this happen actually? And we've seen it. We've seen it in more than one case, in several cases, in fact. And why is that? Because one of the examples is, especially in the facilities that they are starting, they are still going from the development into preclinical to clinical to IND, phase 1, etc. So they have maybe some instruments that they are trained on by one person, one operator, and that person is the only one, and he has or she has the login credentials. So what happens if this person is off that day? And we've seen it several times. What happens is they have a batch that needs to be tested. That scenario is more often than what anybody can think, and then they'll end up trying to find the credentials. And I've seen credentials actually written and hidden under a mouse pad or in the drawer below the instrument, and so it doesn't become credentials anymore or login or password. It's just open for anyone who can access it. And because of that, there is no proper audit trail, because we don't know who did what at which time, because it's just mixed. So that's obviously a data integrity issue. Data integrity, sometimes these are small issues. It happened to occur one time after another, and it's tolerated, or it's people are doing it because of pressures of production. Operations are ongoing, and we need the response right now. So people under pressure might relax their guard towards data integrity, and things can happen, and then it becomes a pattern that everybody is participating in it, and that's why it's a huge flag, and it's one of the highest most likely issues that will create a warning letter, because the risk is very high here, and what they are looking for is the governance over the electronic system, the culture of data transparency. They're looking for management awareness of data practices, and for Alcoa Plus principles that they are not consistently applied. So this is something all the facilities, they have to pay attention to, and it's not necessarily sometimes due to intention, but negligence, and then it becomes a transparency issue. The third one is inadequate written procedures in the facility. And the way it looks like in the citations is procedures are not followed. Have you followed your own procedure? That's a question that they always ask. Procedures lacking sufficient detail. Practices observed that contradict with the SOPs. So they have the procedure. The procedure has to be sitting on the bench or next to the operator while they are operating. Are they following it or not? That's obviously depending on the training or the behavior. No evidence of periodic SOP effectiveness review, because procedures they need to change or be updated according to updates that they are taking place, or issues or CAPAs, etc. What they are looking for here is that SOPs are written for compliance. So I have seen that in some of the facilities that I went to. You can look at the procedure, and I've seen a procedure, not one, several actually. There's just a small paragraph, and that's a procedure because people know what they are doing. They think they don't need instructions. Whoever wrote this in the beginning, I thought that they know everything about that analysis, and that's all that I need. Start the test, get the results, and write them. That's not instructive procedure. And then when that person is not there or is not running the analysis, the next one is obviously does not know what it meant by this small paragraph. And this happens sometimes when you see facilities that they were kind of forced at some point. You don't have procedures, you don't have proper procedures. Okay, their answer is, or their CAPA, we write procedures, and then they end up writing a lot of procedures for compliance and not actually for the end user, which is the operator basically. And then they say, this is it. Then you can look at the procedure and you can see this is not written for anyone to read it. It's just for compliance. And with that in mind, after the procedure, did they train the operators on it or not? Or they just gave it to that person and they said, read it and operate. So this is a medium to high or moderate to high risk because it signals systemic governance weakness. The next most common citation is related to aseptic processing and contamination control. And currently, after Annex 1 and the contamination control strategy, is this something that everyone needs to pay attention? The main purpose was that we don't want batches that go to the market with potential issues and risk of being contaminated. And they are actually trying to help facilities not to have any, and the public not to have any shortage, basically, of any of the drugs due to contamination issues. Because once this happens, we read, I get on a weekly basis the warning letters, and I get 483s, and I see, and then you can see some kind of contamination of microbial contamination or of some sort, and say like, how is this, is out? These things, when they happen, there will be a product recall, and then it's not good for the company, not good for the public, that there is a deficiency in that medicine, and everybody is actually impacted by this. So the language here is always related to things like inadequate smoke studies or poor aseptic technique observed while they are observing the analysts or the operators' work, or environmental monitoring deficiencies, or inadequate gowning practices, or incomplete contamination control strategy. And I get asked a lot since the CCS came out, can you write this contamination control strategy? Or do we have, what do we need to have? It's not just, so for folks, it's not just one document to submit or keep it in the drawer. This is supposed to be a holistic strategy that touches a lot of aspects of the facility, and everybody should be participating in it. And the good news is you might have elements of it. You might have risk assessments. You might have EM program. You might need to revisit and check these aspects of the CCS. But you also can have validations. You can have cleaning validations. You can have risk-based approach. So these are the things that they are looking for. They are looking for a holistic CCS. They are looking for operation qualification rigor, and they are looking for facility and equipment design robustness and risk-based approach to EM. And I have a video actually in one of in YouTube of my channel that I speak about the facility design and design into compliance. This is very important because when you have a good design facility, or if you are lucky to start a facility from scratch, you'll be able to help mitigate the issues of contamination by designing the facility. For example, uniflow raw material goes from one door, exits from another. As a product, the product gets out from another door. Pass-throughs, any of the things that you can put to reduce the risk, that will help in your facility. But if you are, for example, inheriting a facility and that facility is not designed well into compliance, you will have the lifetime of the facility trying to patch and fix the issues. So keep that in mind. And the risk for this is critical, obviously, because any product recall risk for the sterile manufacturing, that's a bad thing that could happen to your facility, to your batches, to the public as well. The next issue cited in 483 is cleaning, validation, and cross-contamination. So that happens in facilities that they also have multi-product facilities. So where the changeover complete, did you validate your cleaning process or the cleaning agents, etc. These are the issues that they might arise. And I have seen facilities that they change product without conducting the correct cleaning, or they don't have a validated process, so they do it without any scientific justification. So that is, the language looks like this: inadequate cleaning validation protocols, worst case product selection is unjustified, hold time studies missing or unsupported. And I cannot tell you how many times I have seen samples and they do not have hold time studies for them. That's amazing to me, because I mean, this is one of those things that they have to be present because you have a sample and it has to go to testing, and then there is a typical, people sometimes say it's a 2 hours or 24 hours or 2 days. Based on what? Did you validate this method? Did you test the whole time that your product or your tested sample or swab is still at the same validated status? So these are the things that they are always citing. And what they're looking for here is a robust change management process, between products, for example, or validation lifecycle management, or cleaning agent qualifications. And the systemic weakness here is that cleaning programs are not validated to a science-based standard, and regulatory scrutiny increase at that point. The risk is very high, because especially elevated for multi-product facilities. Next is the quality unit independence and authority. And how many times we've seen folks say, oh, quality is holding production. Understandably, operations, they have objective of getting batches out. Supply chain has a number of batches that they need to transfer and send away. and fulfill the demand of the market, whereas quality is participating in this process by making sure that the product that goes out of the door does not boomerang back again with issues to you. So I think quality is also participating in this equation in a positive way. Sometimes I've seen the life cycle or the product mapping, production mapping, including starting from raw material all the way to the fill, for example, and then they are expecting that this goes to market, that the filled vials or batch goes to market immediately. This is the deadline, this is the timeline for it, and nobody thought about what happens after the product. Did you test it? Did you send it to quality? Did quality review? What is the review cycle after that before you send it? Do you want to release at risk? All of these issues have to be included in the thinking of a facility and production. And because of that, the citation looks like this: QA not reviewing batch records adequately because you have pressure to release and there is no time. I have seen production cycle ends on Friday night and that's it. So when is quality gonna work? Because we need to release tomorrow, Monday morning, the batch has to be already arrived to a specific area. So quality didn't get a chance, or they have to work in the weekend, for example. So these things, you have to account for the testing and release. Also, you have micro testing that might take, you have sterility testing that might take 14, 21 days, for example. Have you accounted for that? So these are the issues. And then operations influencing quality decisions. I have seen heads of operations that they are also the head of quality. So there is a conflict of interest here. And that's why any inspector, whether it's FDA or EMA or MHRA or Swissmed, they look at your organogram and they request it because they have to make sure that quality is not reporting into operations, because there is a conflict of interest at this point and it's not going to help anyone in the organization. And also there are some of the language that says quality metrics not reaching senior management, because no matter what happens on the spot, operators themselves, they cannot see the big picture, and this needs to be transferred up to the quality management so they are able to review, compare, trend, and make sure that things are going as they are intended. And what the FDA in this case is looking for: organizational governance structure, reporting lines and management oversight, and independence of quality unit from production pressure, as we mentioned, or evidence of management engagement in quality. That's through the management review. And the risk here is high because the repeated findings here signal cultural and structural quality issues. The next, from 7, we are going to cruise from 7 to 10 here for the sake of time. That stability program deficiencies here related to inadequate stability indicating methods, where your stability methods really indicating to stability or they're just testing. Insufficient stability commitment, failure to trend stability data. Are you trending over a year, over 2? Incomplete reserve sample retention. Are you retaining enough samples to come back again and test if there is any failure or there is any OOS? And the stability issues are also crucial, but also there are solutions for some of the development facilities. At some point, I have seen and helped writing that there is an issue over once we have only one lot produced so far. We cannot have 3 batches. There is no 3 batches at this point. So you can't justify in the beginning of the development. So stability for commercial is different than stability for development, for a pre-IND to IND, etc. Next, citation occurrence here takes place related to equipment and facility controls. And the language looks like this: inadequate maintenance documentation, equipment not properly qualified, facility design allowing cross-contamination risk. So this ties to investigations, it ties to contamination control, it ties to facility controls, and all of them together. And in the design of the facility, as I mentioned, check that video talking about design into compliance. It helps to understand that you need to make sure that your facility is designed, and it helps you to become compliant. Number 9 of the most common citations is related to supplier qualifications and component testing. We see oftentimes facilities depend on C of A. They might not adequately qualify suppliers. So the language here is inadequate supplier qualification program. They identify testing skipped on incoming components, because of the pressure of production. We need the material, it's not testing yet. Push it quickly. We already tested it. Have you tested the same batch or not? Did you justify? All of these issues have to be kept in consideration. Then you are going to C of A reliance without independent verification. So a lot of people say, the C of A says it's good to go, or it's tested, or it meets specifications. Did you test it internally, or you have a program for that or not? That's also a question. And then number 10 is trending and quality metrics. This is related to ICH Q10 and multiple CFRs. So that's related to failure. So the language is, did you failure to trend complaints, or no statistical process monitoring, or absence of management review evidence? Did you do the management review? Is it periodically? Is it a monthly, quarterly, annually? The management or the quality management in general and upper management has to participate in quality review to be able to see the trends and the state of their facility. No formal APQR program, which is annual product quality review. That's not there. So then they cite the facility. Now let's move to high-level trend observations. Let's talk about data integrity. This is second in the recurrence. However, it remains the most escalated risk area. As we spoke about data integrity, it triggers expanded scope and immediate warning letter action. So there is a loss of trust, there is a loss of confidence in your data, and you don't want that as a management to be evident during inspection or culturally, because people relax, as I mentioned previously, because of the operation pressure. People tend to be afraid to speak up, or they just pass things that they are not supposed to without a proper review or any issue of data integrity. And then the investigation quality is the single most common recurring theme across all inspection types globally. I have seen that everywhere. I have seen facilities that they have an accumulation of investigations to the point that it becomes overwhelming. And then some of the issues about the investigations is when I go and help facilities, there is one or two investigators, they are looking at a specific investigation, and then another investigation under different group, and so on and so forth. Because of that, sometimes they don't speak, or a lot of times actually, they are silent, they don't speak to each other. Then nobody knows that this same investigation or this same root cause occurred here and there. And so you have to trend, you have to compile the data, and have someone has to look. And that's what I help these companies in doing, by looking at the big picture of all these investigations and the CAPA effectiveness. We are going to go to quality culture and governance. FDA is explicitly now shifting towards evaluating organizational culture and leadership accountability. And I have a presentation and webinar regarding quality culture. It's about an hour and a half. I'm happy to present it to your organization. I've been presenting it in a few places, and it actually was met with fantastic reviews, and people just get so excited about that, about their commitment. It's the whole management is committed, and I've seen folks along the years and saying, everybody knows these facts, but when somebody brings them into a presentation to everyone, I think it helps bring the issues front and center in front of everyone. So it's kind of a refreshment to see a quality culture webinar. Then contamination control scrutiny, especially after Annex 1 revision, it's driving higher expectations. I'm aware of issues regarding isolators currently. EMA is requiring facilities with isolators to upgrade the surrounding area around the isolator from grade C to grade B. The industry is split between that. The reasoning for that, which is understandable, that once you open, are you able to, and then you are inputting material, the isolator is not closed, how is the EM in the environment surrounding the isolator? And then the opponents to that are arguing that the isolators are already validated with VHP, etc. So, how is the risk and what is the cost? All of these are questions to be asked and to be discussed, and it's unsolved at this point. The repeat observations equals enforcement. That's lastly what I would like to talk about. So this is what triggers the warning letter. So if you ignore or mishandle a 483 response, and it becomes evident that this issue keeps happening over and over again without a clear solution in the facility, then that warrants a warning letter from the agency. And when 483 escalate to a warning letter, when does this happen? So this is an executive level pattern here, and the 4 drivers for the escalation are: number 1 is the repeat observations, as we mentioned. So the more it happens, the more that shows there is a systemic issue. The management probably is not interested or unable. This is when you need to bring an auditor from the outside, a consultant, and that's what the recommendation usually from the FDA: hire a consultant, because at this point there are enough blind spots that nobody internally is able to figure things out. Second is the systemic investigation failures. We touched on that several times. Investigations are big. People resort to the easiest root cause. Therefore, the corrective and preventive action is not appropriate to solve the issue, and then the CAPA is not going to be effective, and then the issue will be recurrent, and then it will be escalated to a warning letter. So you need to bring someone at some point when it's accumulated. You have somebody to help you resolve all of these issues of unsolved investigations or unclosed investigations. You have number 3 is management awareness without remediation. So this is not a good sign, obviously, when everyone is aware, but there is nothing being resolved. And data integrity issues, as we mentioned several times, it escalates easily to becoming a warning letter. So these are the triggers that drives the escalation. Now, strategic recommendations from me to the leadership. First of all, independent mock audits. Hire a consultant that you trust with understanding of the subjects, and that has to be implemented at least annually, if not even more often. So this way, this external expertise will help you identify the blind spots that we spoke about. Second, audit trail reviews. You have, as a management or a quality management, to review audit trails. That's gonna help resolve some of the data integrity issues. Cross-system trend analysis. Now, Again, I mentioned that before. You have the operator works on the bench, quality, they work on their areas. Nobody is bringing all of these issues together to be able to see and trend and can see a big picture that will resolve issues and can see, well, I have an issue here in contamination in this area, but I have also raw material getting in here, and I have operators are failing. So contamination control strategy is not working. So somebody has to be able to see this from a bird's eye view, and the expectation from the operator should not be that they know the big picture when they are busy on their daily operation. That's when the failure takes place. Next to that is the formal management review. This has to be periodical. It cannot be left without being put in place, whether it's quarterly or every half year or annually. Something that has to be put here in place periodically per ICH Q10. Number 5 is quality unit authority assessment. Also, I think you should request help from an agency, consultancy, to be able to help you assess the independence of the QE, of the quality unit, and reporting lines and independence and decision-making ability. All of that will help you as an organization to be able to come up with a good solution for these issues. This is going to reduce any risk to these 483s related to quality independence. These are questions that I've been asked along the years while I presented this presentation or something similar. But before that, I'm going to plug in here the coming up seminar related or webinar, if it's online, to quality culture in pharmaceutical and biotech companies. What will be covered is defining and measuring quality culture, leadership role in culture transformation, FDA's expectation on quality culture, case studies from warning letters. So with that in mind, I would like to put some questions. I received a question here. I'm going to go to 2 because that's the question that I received. What are the most common mistakes in CAPA response? I received another version of that question. So the common mistake in the CAPA response here is when we have CAPAs that they are ineffective or shallow because they do not correspond to a real root cause or causes. So it comes down to originally the conducting a thorough investigation and making sure that you looked at the root cause analysis, and then you can make a CAPA related to that specific root cause or causes. And then you have to go back again later and check the CAPA effectiveness. Is it effective? Did it resolve? Or the issue still persists? So that's when you need to make sure that the CAPA system is effective. I have a question also. How do I prioritize 483 remediation actions? You see, one of the things that we noticed is every facility is different. And when you get these questions, you have to answer all of them within 15 days. The answer doesn't mean that you resolve all the issues. You can start with a CAPA, but you have to give that response. We put a CAPA in place. This is the timeline, and we'll get back to you with our responses after the CAPA. So which one do you prioritize? You have to assign several teams depending on your facility. As I mentioned, small teams are different than larger companies that they can assign roles and responsibilities and ownership. And this has to be evaluated based on your facility. We are happy to support you if you have that need. How should leadership respond to data integrity findings? The leadership obviously have to be completely buying in resolving this issue. And also related to the quality culture, do all of them are invested and interested in resolving these issues. So definitely they should assign rules, give the empowerment to folks to speak up. There is a lot of aspects here in the buy-in. You can also see it in the quality culture presentation that I have and I presented recently in one of the organizations. And what triggers an FDA warning letter after a 483? So this is a question for everyone that's based on what I mentioned. There are high-risk areas such as data integrity, ineffective CAPAs, all the aspects or contamination issues. So these things can trigger definitely 483 to be escalated into warning letter. And mostly if an issue persists in a facility, that is definitely a trigger for a warning letter. Moving to that question, how can I build a stronger quality culture? Big question, good question. I recommend to look at my next presentation regarding the quality culture in pharmaceutical and biotech companies. It's a very thorough presentation that talks about all aspects of quality culture and what does it mean, and the growth over the years of looking at the quality culture from the standpoint of the agency. And right now in February of 2026, there is a new initiative to improve looking at the quality culture. So I think there is always an interest to improve this because it is translated into good products, quality product, and safe to the public. And I want to thank everyone that attended this presentation and signed up for it and mentioned that they are going to attend. And if you haven't gotten a chance, please, here are my links so you can scan any of these QR codes. This first one under ReguQual Partners website, it leads you to the website. It shows you what we are doing, how can we help you. We are definitely able to resolve a lot of these issues to your facility. We will make remediations, and we also help in mock audits or pre-inspection audits. This is also my LinkedIn, so please reach out, connect with me. This is my YouTube channel. I show some videos. These videos, I try to make them short, about 10 minutes, just to help people to get a glimpse of one issue or something that they might be interested in. So please follow and subscribe to that. And if you like on the go, 1 minute to 2, this is the TikTok link also. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate you. I appreciate your presence. And I would like to hear from you. Reach out with any questions. Reach out with interest in collaboration. Let's discuss how can I help you? How can my organization help you? And the folks are ready and very qualified. And we can definitely get you out of any of the issues that you are facing with great experience and great professional approach as well. Thank you, and we'll talk to you guys in a different time.